everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Gretchen, and today I'm back with another Booker Prize review, and today's book is The Safekeep by Yael van der Wouden. Now, this book was a huge surprise for me, and I say that it was a surprise because I really tried to distance myself from hearing a lot of chatter about this book. Very early on, once they announced the long list, this tended to be a book that most people were starting with, and I started to hear early on that people were loving this book. And not only were they loving it, I heard that there was a plot twist, or there was an event that happened that was very shocking toward the end. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, nope, I don't want to hear anything else. Like, I put it to the bottom of my list, and I just kind of shut the world out because I didn't want anything to be ruined for me. And I'm so glad that I did, because as I started this book and I started to learn more and more of what it was about, it really enhanced my reading experience to learn those things as I was reading, as opposed to going into this book with set of expectations. So once I did get to the end, I really was thankful that I didn't know any of those things at the beginning, because I truly do think that it would have ruined my reading experience. Now, this book is set in the Netherlands in the 1960s, I think early 1960s if I remember correctly, and it's been a little over 15 years since World War II has ended, and even though we've kind of distanced ourselves from the war in this narrative, the book really still does touch on the aftermath of the war and how it has impacted our characters. Now, our main narrator, her name is Isabel, or Isa, and she is kind of high-strung and controlling, and I would even venture to say that she's rude. She's very set in her ways. She doesn't take well to any disruptions in her routines, and when she feels challenged, she can actually be very difficult and almost petulant. And we also learn that, or we get the impression, I should say, that she's kind of a prude. She does have a boyfriend, but she doesn't seem to have a very exciting life. She kind of stays cooped up in her house all day, and she doesn't really venture out or seek any exciting experiences outside of the four walls of her home. And she does seem to lead a pretty sheltered life. Now, the other kind of main character of this book is the house that she lives in. So she does live in this big house by herself. It's owned by her uncle, but when her uncle passes, it's not going to be given to her. It's actually going to go to her older brother. And this is a very contentious subject for Isabel, because she's the one that lives in the house. She's the one that cares for it. She's the one that loves it. And she does not feel like her brother deserves it, and she does. Things really start to get going in the story when her older brother has to leave the country for business for about a month, and he decides that he is going to allow his girlfriend, Eva, to live in the house in his absence while he's away. And of course, Isa is upset about this. As I mentioned, she is set in her ways. She doesn't like those disruptions to her routine, so this causes a lot of tension. But not only that, Eva is very different from Isa. Eva is kind of more of a free spirit in a sense. She kind of does what she wants. She really doesn't care about what other people think of her, and she very much knows that she is not welcome and that Isa is upset that she is there, but she really doesn't care. And as the book starts to progress, there's also a little bit of a mystery that is like an undercurrent throughout the book. And that is that Isa starts to notice that these little things start to disappear through the house. A spoon, a plate, a little trinket, and she becomes obsessed with getting to the bottom of what is happening. And this starts to happen even before Eva comes into the picture. So we have this mystery established, and that was enough to kind of propel me through the story, because I was also very interested in finding out, like, where are all of these little keepsakes and things going that are a part of the house and that Isa cares about so much. Now, once we start to get more into the stay with Eva having kind of moved in for that month, we learn so much about that tension that is going on. And the longer that we spend time with these characters, we start to realize, as well as Isa, that what she thinks of as feelings of hatred and animosity toward Eva might actually be feelings of desire. And this, of course, is switching that tension from that tension of hatred to that tension of the sexual kind. So we then do take a lot of time in the book to talk about the exploration of those desires. It's actually a very sensual and sexy book. You're not going to think about pears the same way after reading this, but it was done very well. It was done very tastefully. And although I really did enjoy learning about that exploration and the relationship that they were starting to develop together, the real kind of shining star of this book for me was actually the third part of the book. And ultimately, when we get to the third part, the mystery comes back into focus, and we learn a lot about not only the house, but we learn a lot about the family of Isa, as well as Eva, and the past of the house. And there's so much going on, and I certainly don't want to give any spoilers talking about what those specific secrets are, but if you do pay attention along the way, there are definitely clues that are dropped, and the author gives you like little Easter eggs and things, and you kind of know where it's heading. But I was totally there for it regardless. Even though I kind of saw the writing on the wall, once it did happen, it was presented to us in, I feel, a very unique way. And I really think the author did a fantastic job of presenting the answer to that mystery in the third part of this book. And I think she set it up brilliantly. I really did end up enjoying my time with this book. And although I did enjoy the third part, which was the last part of the book, the best, it was the beginning part of the third part that I liked the most. Once we got through the huge reveal and we started to have everything start to fall into place, I really feel like the tail end of the book was a little disappointing. Just a bit though. I felt like once we got through that big reveal, the book then felt like it was in a huge hurry to end. We had like this beautiful slow burn just simmering throughout the duration of the book, and then once we knew all the facts, it was just like boom, boom, boom. It was a mad dash scramble to get to the end. I really would have liked the author to take more time to kind of explore the characters in the aftermath of that big reveal and just see how it really impacted their lives and their future. But it ended so abruptly, and I honestly did feel a little cheated in the end. I also don't know how I feel about the actual ending itself. The romantic in me wants to be glad that it was a very hopeful ending, but the pragmatist in me is kind of like, oh hell no, there's no way that after all that dirty laundry just came out that things would end up the way that they did right away. It was way more hopeful than I was expecting, which I guess is a good thing. I love that the book is hopeful in the end, but I wanted there to be a little more effort between the characters to earn that hopeful tone at the end. It was just offered up way too quickly. But to be fair, I do realize that the issues at hand were not the fault of Isa and Eva, and I do find it admirable that they didn't blame each other for those things and were able to move past them. Overall, this was one of the better books on this year's long list for me. And although it's not going to knock James out of the top spot, I am really glad to see that this one ended up making it to the short list. And I would also say it might even have my second spot, or my runner-up to James, although I do really like Stoneyard Devotional too, and although they're two very different books, I had similar reactions and responses to those two books, so I think I'll have a hard time determining what my actual second favorite is, but regardless, I think this is a really good book. I do recommend it, and I am really looking forward to seeing what the outcome of this year's prize is. It's been a weird one. So we'll see what happens. I also hope that if you guys are reading along with the Booker Prize, you're either close to getting done with the short list, and if you're not, hopefully you only have a couple more to go. Regardless, I hope that whatever you're reading, it's one that you're enjoying, and until we read again, bye!